welcome to Audiophile Finland. Now today I have a short review on the music streaming service TIDAL. Now I first signed up to TIDAL a couple of years ago, but due to a couple of issues I never went beyond that trial period. At the time, I was impressed with the offer of the masters, the high definition audio, 2496 or higher bit rates on offer. But I didn't have any devices apart from my PC that would play this. So I ended up going back to Spotify, and I've been using Spotify quite happily for a number of years. And of course it's difficult to talk about TIDAL without mentioning Spotify, which is probably their main competitor. Now Spotify is great, it has good quality, generally good quality audio, albeit streamed using the MP3 format, but at the very high 320 kilobits per second bitrate. They have a Linux app, which is a big plus for me, but the Linux app is quite buggy, which is a big negative for me. They have an awesome catalogue, and the recommendation service, to be honest, is one of the best. But recently I had an incident where I was listening to some music, and I wasn't happy with the audio quality on Spotify. Now this led me to signing up to another trial with TIDAL, but it didn't resolve the problem, and I'll go into why later. But generally, on other material, I think the audio quality on TIDAL is definitely better. Now it depends very much on the content or the material you're listening to. For most acoustic music, I guess 320 kilobits per second from Spotify is perfectly adequate, and I think you'd be hard pushed to tell any difference at all. But if you have something with a lot of harmonics, a lot of harmonic content like rock with lots of guitar distortion, or some electronic tracks that are very complex and have a lot of complex waveforms, again with a lot of harmonics, I think you can, especially on a revealing system, I think you can tell a difference. And I think the difference is worthwhile enough to have the TIDAL service, which incidentally, compared to Spotify 320 kilobits MP3, TIDAL generally is 44 kilohertz 16-bit uncompressed audio. So it's the same as you get on a CD. So yeah, generally, TIDAL, I'm really impressed. Spotify, I think, is Swedish. TIDAL is Norwegian, so they're both Nordic countries. And I found the support on both to be really impressive. I have no trouble with either, really. And in fact, I've not had much reason to engage with Spotify support, apart from the Linux client where I've had issues. TIDAL, I've had more reason to engage with, and again, I'll go into that in a minute. But the TIDAL service, as much as I'm in love with it and I love the audio quality, there's still no Linux client. They're still streaming in a proprietary MQA format, which essentially no devices support. If you want to stream this to your hi-fi, you either need a laptop with a digital out or DAC, whatever, in your living room, or you need to spend a lot of money on a dedicated external DAC that supports this weird proprietary format. I don't know why they can't just use FLAC. FLAC natively supports all the high definition bit rates, and you could stream using Chromecast or something like that. It would be so much easier, but for some reason, I guess it's some commercial agreements, they're locked into this strange format. But I'm not too worried. 44 kilohertz 16-bit to me is a worthwhile improvement. The negative thing I have to say, apart from the lack of Linux support and the MQA stuff, is the directory is a mess. Now, I discovered this very quickly, searching for artists. I've got just a couple of examples here, but I've found more. First of all, one of the bands I enjoy listening to and followed a lot when I was in the UK, attending many gigs, is New Model Army. And I thought, well, I'm interested in hearing Justin Sullivan's solo album. I know he has one album, I can't remember the name of it now. And I thought, I'll sit down, I have an evening, I have a glass of whiskey, I'll sit down, I'll listen to this, it's something I'll really enjoy. So I searched for Justin Sullivan on TIDAL, found the singer, and all the references to his work in New Model Army and albums he's associated with. I then find a solo album and I click play. And I think, what the hell is this? This is nothing like what I expected. Has he somehow sold out and become some generic pop star? No. They've mixed up someone who I think is quite famous, the singer from New Model Army, one of the perhaps most well-known alternative rock bands from England in the 80s and 90s, who are still fantastic, I must say, with I don't want to be disrespectful to the other Justin Sullivan, but there's no differentiation between the two. And I'm sure the pop version of Justin Sullivan is getting a lot of extra traffic from people searching for Justin Sullivan, and is probably doing quite well out of this, so is probably not pushing for TIDAL to update their listings with the correct information. However, on the other hand, it's probably damaging the Justin Sullivan's reputation a little for people that aren't familiar or that familiar with his work. And another example, here we have Omnia. Omnia are a huge folky pagan band. Folky, yeah, I don't know what to call them. Folk, pagan, rock. They're huge, and I searched for Omnia, thought, great. Oh, this is interesting. I've not heard of some of this before, and I thought I had most of their back catalogue. Click play, and what is this? Why have they started branching into trance? No, it's some random DJ from somewhere in Europe that has called himself DJ Omnia. And again, it's all a terrible mess. You've got all of the two catalogues of both artists all thrown into one category or one artist on TIDAL. And again, I liked Omnia. I liked the artist Omnia, the musicians Omnia, and then I wondered why I was getting all these strange recommendations in my TIDAL recommendation stream. It was like, what have I done to get all this trance? I mean, I don't object to trance, it's not something I dislike, but I didn't understand why I'd only listened to folky music in TIDAL and suddenly I'm getting suggestions of DJ someone or other, trance DJ set from Ibiza or something. So I realised that's what the problem was. It's just a catalogue directory issue. And I did reach out to support, and they were very happy to hear from me. They took all the details and said they need to contact the artists or the artist representatives to try and clear up the mess, which is great. But I haven't had this experience on Spotify. Spotify seems very, very good in that respect. But even so, I removed the artists that were causing me problems from my likes in TIDAL, and the situation has massively improved. But if I look at the recommendations now that they're presenting to me, I still don't know what I've done to be treated in this way. If we have a look, let's see, recommendations. Yeah, first things on the list, you can see what I've recently played. I've got a list here that goes between jazz, Depeche Mode, Beatles, a Finnish gothic rock band, late night jazz. So what are the suggested new tracks? Little Chorley? I've listened to some of these, and really, I don't know what I've done to deserve this as suggested new tracks. Maybe it's not targeted at me, maybe it's just targeted at, I don't know, children or something. But if we look down the recommendations or suggested albums, let's see. Some of these look okay, actually. Dream Theater, but none of these I would object to. Gutter Baby? Really? Okay. Gary Barlow? At a push, maybe. Kid G? It's looking a little bit strange, and I'm wondering what I've done to cause some of these recommendations. Going slightly further down, Call of Duty 3, Zaza Vibes. So, it's not Spotify. Let's just put it that way. Steps. What can I say? I don't know where these things are coming from, but it's not as good. But I'm guessing it's something they're working on. Perhaps Spotify have more experience in the machine learning or the suggestions, the associations between what you listen to and what they should suggest. Or maybe on TIDAL it's just something that's put together by someone in their team, or a combination of like staff picks rather than anything that's targeted. But it's a lot less useful. There was one other thing I wanted to... Yeah, radio, because I've listened to, you can see this is getting a lot better now, the radio stations that are recommended. This is clearly all based on my listens. Pentangle, Depeche Mode, Boy Harsher, Ivor. It's all good stuff. I'm not seeing anything here that is anyway out of the ordinary, and all of this stuff, if I'm not familiar with it, I would be interested in becoming familiar with it. So, awesome stuff. Generally, I really highly recommend TIDAL. There's a couple of issues with the directory, the catalogue, and their recommendations could be improved. And I wish they would offer the MQA or the Hi-Fi, is it Hi-Fi Masters? I wish they could offer that service on a client or a system or a codec that didn't lock you into some strange proprietary thing. I would love to listen to this on my Hi-Fi, but I don't see any easy way of doing that currently. So I'll now just cover, I realised I said at the beginning that the reason I signed up again to TIDAL was because I wasn't happy with the audio quality on Spotify, and this is partly a lie. I'm happy I signed up to TIDAL, and I think the audio quality is better and I'm enjoying it. But the reason was I was listening to the new Mission album, or the Mission UK, if you're listening to this in the United States, Another Fall from Grace. And the title track, or not the title track, but the main, I think, the single on the album, Metamorphosis. I was listening to this on TIDAL, and there's I don't know whether it's the chorus, I think it is probably the chorus, where the guitars are getting a little bit heavier, there's a lot of harmonic content, and it sounds like 128 kilobit per second MP3. There's this mushiness in the treble, like the bit rate is I want to say compressing things, but I don't mean compressing things in the audio sense. I mean in the data rate sense, where it's dropping harmonic content to try and keep the data rate low. So this, I was sat down. I have the stereo set up perfectly, the sweet spot, and everything is just fantastic. And this mush of treble was really detracting from the experience. And me being me, I couldn't just sit there and skip and listen to something else. I had to sign up to TIDAL. And I thought, great, CD quality, sit down, listen to the same track. And then, how can this still be sounding the same? It was identical. But on the Marantz app that talks to TIDAL, it said it was playing PCM 44 kilohertz 16-bit uncompressed PCM, whatever you want to call it. And it still had this horrible mushy sound. So I then switched to the TIDAL app. Now this is another slight bugbear with the TIDAL service, is the TIDAL app won't speak to the Marantz amplifier. If you want to stream directly using HEOS, you have to use the Marantz app, which is less functional than the TIDAL app. But the TIDAL app will speak to Chromecast, again, not using MQA, but at just CD quality. So I then went to the TIDAL app and played it from there, thinking maybe this is some weird Marantz problem, HEOS problem. No, same thing. And then I thought, well, did I buy this on vinyl? I have vague memories a year or two ago of the album turning up on vinyl. So I checked through the vinyl collection and I thought, great, I do. I have it. I don't know if I've listened to it, but I have it. So turn off all the digital stuff. Just turntable, amplifier, speakers. Put the vinyl on, the vinyl record, and I discover that it sounds exactly the same. I mean, exactly the same. I mean, yeah, a little bit more warmth due to the whole vinyl thing, which you may love or hate, but due to the way vinyl sounds in the RIAA equalization, there is a sound to vinyl which just, to me, sounds better. Great. But the guitars still sound like 128 kilohertz MP3. I don't know. This isn't the only album that I found this on. I've got others as well where it sounds like the mastering process or the album has been put together with stems that have been sent through lossy audio formats. I had an album years ago actually that was some sort of folk album, and it was done purely online, and the singers, the musicians, everything was done online, and someone got all the stems, mixed and mastered them. And all of the treble had this horrible, splashy, compressed quality. And I remember pinging the guy that assembled this album, and I said, "What's going on with the treble?" And he was, "Oh, what do you mean? It sounds perfect." And I said, "No, it all sounds like it's been squashed through like 128 kilobits MP3. And it's really hard. It's tiring. It's fatiguing on the ears to listen to this." And he was like, "Oh, yeah. All the artists, they all recorded their separate bits, and they all sent me the MP3s. So it was a mixture of MP3s that were combined to mix the tracks." And I thought, well, that perfectly explains why. But I don't understand why on modern recordings from big artists maybe it was a decision from the mastering engineer. Maybe it was intentional, but to me it just sounds unpleasant to listen to. And as much as I love the album and the track, and I think the whole thing is really, really great, it's these little things that when I'm listening to, because of my interests in the audio, I'm sure most people don't listen to these things, or don't pick up on these things, and maybe don't care about these things. But if you're really into the audio, then you do pick up on these things, and as annoying as it is, it detracts from the experience. And there's other artists where I can talk about where I've bought the vinyl and it sounded flat, really flat, and I realised that it's been mixed and mastered by the musician, not by an external mastering engineer who's done a proper job in it. So it probably sounded great in their studio on their small KRK monitors or whatever they're using, but it just doesn't translate well to other systems. And they've obviously invested money making the vinyl, because that is not cheap, but they've saved money on the mastering process, and it is again, if you're listening on anywhere near a revealing system, it just ends up being a disappointment. But vinyl is trendy. Maybe people, average listeners, maybe not care, and I'm being too fussy here. But this is what I do. This is the reviews I intend to do. Is problems that I pick up and things that bug me from an audiophile perspective. So I think that's it for now. I would love to hear from you as always. I currently have my Spotify subscription running, which I think I will continue. I have a household Spotify subscription, which my partner also uses when in the house, when in the car. I have a single person subscription on TIDAL, which is currently the trial. And as much as I was thinking about cancelling when that subscription or the trial period runs out, you know what, I'm really enjoying listening evenings. I finish a day of work. It's really nice to sit on the sofa, have a beer or a glass of whiskey, and just enjoy the music. And I think it's worth paying for the TIDAL service for the uncompressed audio, just for the enjoyment and satisfaction I get out of those evenings. It's something I really do enjoy. So I think I will continue, and I will keep giving feedback to TIDAL on any other issues I identify with the service. And I hope at some point they reconsider the MQA status, and I hope they do offer some sort of Linux client or Linux application at some point, but most of my listening is done in the living room. It's not done on the PC, so that isn't such a huge problem. So yeah, thank you for listening, and comments, feedback, let me know. Do you notice a difference between the two services? Do you have a MQA compatible device or DAC? Do you notice a difference between the high definition and the standard high quality 4416 streams from TIDAL? Or are you perfectly happy with Spotify? Just let me know, and let me know if there's any ideas about what I can cover on future episodes. So thank you, and I look forward to joining you on whatever the next edition of this is.